And greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Apptrepreneur Show. This is your near daily dose of apps, technology, and even a little bit of entertainment in the middle, if you will. I am your host, Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and it is an honor and a privilege to be discussing this with you live, all these stories, and thank you so much for spending your time with me. Now, of course, funny little thing, I think something's going on with like the YouTube studio in the browser because I cannot see the preview, so I'm kind of going on a leap of faith that everything is going fine. So hey, if everything is going fine, please let me know in the chat because, just for a little bit of peace of mind. I see we have a like and we have at least five people, which, hey, five people and we're not headlining with an Uber topic. That's always fun. So anyway, we are going to talk. We've got several topics. We've got, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, we have 6. That's one topic more than I thought. The sixth topic may be a throwaway. Who knows? But anyway, I am so happy for you to all be here. It's so fun. So anyway, let's get started with the main topic. And the main topic. Oh, hey, Jody. So I guess we are live. We are working. Thank you for commenting. The main topic we're going to talk about well, first of all, let's take a step back in memory lane, back 3 years ago when I had first started this channel. And one of the first major scandals that involved Uber was the spying of an editor, where Uber was basically admitting that they were seeking out people who wrote, journalists particularly, that wrote bad things about the company, and they were trying to dig up dirt on them to try to discredit them in their articles, because this is what Uber did. And Uber was actually freely admitting this to another journalist. And the journalist kept notes, wrote a paper, and the whole thing blew up. And it was hugely, hugely, hugely embarrassing that Uber would actually do that. Well, apparently, Uber is not the only company that does this, because another company that's actually far more established and really should know better by now was eBay. eBay actually started doing some cyber stalking techniques of their own, where they found a couple who was running a newsletter who was writing things about the company that they didn't necessarily agree with. And when I say they don't agree with, like, it made eBay look really, really bad. So a bunch of people at eBay decided that they were going to cyberstalk these people and intimidate them to not write the newsletter anymore. And the case was blown wide open. It was blown wide open. And at first, it was just a couple people. At least we thought it was just a couple people, but no, it's actually gotten much bigger. In fact, a 7th former eBay staffer has been charged with cyberstalking against an editor of the said newsletter. So here's what the Mercury News has to say about the topic. A 7th former eBay Incorporated employee has been charged with participating in a campaign to terrorize the editor and publisher of an online newsletter because eBay executives were upset about coverage of the company, authorities said Tuesday. Philip Cook, 55, who was a supervisor of security operations at eBay's European and Asian offices, is charged with conspiracy to commit cyberstalking and conspiracy to tamper with witnesses, prosecutors said. The San Jose man will appear in Boston's federal court at a later date, officials said. There was no attorney listed for him in online court records. Prosecutors announced charges against 6 other former eBay staffers last month. Now, I'm going to read this recap part because I have not been talking about this on this site. I kind of wish I was, because this is a big deal. But here's the thing. Authorities say Cook, a former police captain in Santa Clara, California, conspired with the other staffers to harass the Massachusetts couple that published the newsletter with threatening messages and disturbing deliveries to their home, including live spiders and cockroaches. eBay said last month that an internal investigation was launched after the company was notified by law enforcement in August of suspicious actions by its security personnel. The employees were fired in September, the company said, so they definitely found enough there to deem these accusations credible. Now, here's the thing. Again, we've talked about this with Uber. And in fact, we've even talked about Amazon recently. Companies do not like when you give negative attention to their companies. They've got this sort of sense, especially when they're big and they're powerful. They've been around for a long time. Or in Uber's case, they felt big and powerful and like they were around for a long time, even though they really weren't. And they decide, hey, we're going to intimidate these people. And we're going to try to get them to not be speaking. The thing is, they typically get caught. Keep in mind, this isn't China. This is America. We usually find out these things, and it's usually not even that difficult considering how much information is over the internet that can be subpoenaed. So so now we have like at least a 7th former eBay staffer who's charged with the cyber stalking. And there might even be more. You never know. There might be more to this. And I'm just wondering, what are they thinking? Like, here's the thing. There's nothing that's going to take eBay down. Nothing. eBay is one of the few companies that is super, super secure. Especially since they're basically Amazon Lite. If you can't find what you want on Amazon, you can go to eBay and you can find it there. Heck, eBay is where I do some of my drop shipping for my Shopify store. So there will always be people who want to sell that unused lamp, those old DVDs that they no longer watch, maybe a comic book that they do not realize is worth a fortune, and people will always buy it. Like, you see stories all the time about what winds up on eBay. Like, oh my gosh, a copy of Nintendo World Championship has wound up on eBay, and it's starting at $5. Clearly, somebody didn't know what was there. So, and there was even a story fairly recently that I saw where somebody bought a $120 box of just random games. They said, hey, we just have a bunch of games, $120, and they found a copy of Panzer Dragoon Saga in there, which is worth thousands of dollars. So these stories will always keep eBay in the news, and this is one of the reasons why eBay will always be popular. The treasure hunters will always want it, and the people who just want to get rid of junk, they can do without having a garage sale. So it's a shame that that these staffers felt like they needed to go after these newspaper, or these newsletter, I should say, editors, and try to intimidate them into not speaking ill about the company when there's really no need to do that. There's just absolutely no need to do that. But, people are strange. People are strange. What can I say? I would like to know, though, what your thoughts on this matter are. So do you think we're going to find more people in this cyberstalking incident? Do you think eBay has responded properly? I would love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Oh, hey, Roger. So nice to see you here. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's talk about main topic number 2. And the second main topic involves food delivery. Now, those of you who have been, still doing, the gig economy stuff, you'll know that rideshare is way down, and you'll know that, food delivery is way up. There's a reason Uber made acquiring a food delivery service a priority this year. They're trying to strengthen their hold on food delivery. But there's also been controversies about how these food delivery companies have been price gouging customers and the restaurants. There's, like with the rideshare, we're discovering that, hey, the only people who really, win in these situations are the delivery companies, the restaurants, and the customers, and even the drivers typically lose unless the driver gets like a super fat tip. Well, a lot of cities actually decided that they were going to force these companies to have a cap on their service fee. Like, you can't charge more than this to deliver food because right now we're in a pandemic and people are getting more things delivered than before. That gives you almost a license to abuse your delivery fee, and you just can't do it. Well, a lot of companies did abuse the fee, and they continued to not follow it. However, DoorDash has admitted that it did violate San Francisco's cap on restaurant delivery fees, and they are promising a refund. So here's what the article says. Numerous San Francisco restaurants trying to survive on takeout service during the pandemic have also quietly been dealing with an unexpected financial hurdle. 30% commission fees from DoorDash, despite the fact the city capped fees at 15% from food delivery apps in April. San Francisco chef Christine Siskel, who runs a popular fried chicken spot in San Francisco's Mission District neighborhood, drew attention to the fees on social media earlier this week. Siskel posted a screenshot on Twitter of a DoorDash transaction at his restaurant that showed 30% commission rates for pickup and delivery orders. Quote, it was impossible for restaurants before COVID to survive with all these apps and their fees. If you're giving 25 to 30% to an app, there's no way you're going to survive or even get ahead. Now, here's to DoorDash's credit. A DoorDash spokesperson said the company, which has thousands of restaurant partners, and they put partners in quotations because sometimes they're unwilling partners, is aware of the 30% commission rate and that the charges were made in error. And they have said, we have corrected this error affecting fewer than 10 of our San Francisco restaurant partners and will be issuing reimbursements to these restaurants. Siskel said, despite multiple calls to the company, he has not been told of any reimbursement plans. So, first of all, what's going on? Like, is this person going to get their refund? I don't know. I mean, DoorDash says they're aware of it and that they are going to issue a refund, but will they actually do it? Because keep in mind, these companies, they're always going to say, oh yeah, we made a mistake, we're going to be refunding, we're going to be doing this. And they're doing that because they want to look good in the article. But this person, Justin Phillips of the San Francisco Chronicle, decided to contact the chef, before he published and said, hey, so they told me that they were going to reimburse you. And he said, well, I haven't heard of any reimbursement plan. So if I were Justin, I would probably continue to follow up with this guy, see if DoorDash actually makes good to refund this money. Now, if they do, good for them. Definitely mad respect that they do that. But if they don't, well, I'm not going to be too surprised. Honestly, I'm kind of amazed that DoorDash admitted any wrongdoing at all, because you also saw Postmates basically violating San Francisco's cap and saying, like, well, the cap isn't really clear what it entails. Maybe it means this, maybe that. I don't know. We need to figure it out. Like, what does it actually, like, it means you don't charge more than 15%. That's what it means. But these companies play dumb because they can't. And who's going to sue them? Seriously, who's going to sue them for not following the law? I mean, they've been breaking it for years. So DoorDash got caught. They have said they will give this guy his money back, but the chef has said that, well, we have not heard anything to that effect. We don't know if they're actually going to do that. So I'm wondering if hopefully there'll be a follow-up article to see if this guy actually gets his money back. Because if he doesn't get his money back, I mean, it's not going to be surprising at all. It will be disappointing, but, it wouldn't be too surprising. But, all these companies have been violating this, and I think the longer this pandemic goes on and the more they realize that people aren't going to be suing them over, not following the fee cap, they're just going to flaunt it even more. But I would like to know what you think of this. Do you agree that DoorDash will refund the money? Do you think they won't refund the money? Or do you think that, well, who knows what's going to happen in this situation? Do you think this was made in error, or do you think DoorDash was deliberately being obtuse until they got caught? I'd love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Now then, let me take a sip of my water, and then we'll get to main topic number 3, which is actually an important one. This is actually going to be kind of an important one. But let's talk about main topic number 3. And main topic number 3 involves a little video app called TikTok. Now, I am not on TikTok. People have asked me, when am I going to create a TikTok account and branch out? Because here's the thing. If you're a video content creator, you want to try to be on many of these different platforms. You just want to spread your wings. You want to get your fingers in as much dishes as possible to be successful. And there does seem to be some real money on TikTok. I've seen some celebrities that have quite a huge following. They get great sponsorship deals, and they make good money on TikTok. And yet I've never been even remotely tempted to get on it, for the main fact that, honestly, I think TikTok is one of the most self-indulgent things ever. Like, I know some people who do it really well. I've seen a couple people where it's like, yeah, some of these small videos are kind of cute, but otherwise TikTok is like mostly people just saying, like, look at my hair, isn't my makeup pretty, look at this, look at that. And granted, I could get on TikTok and I could, like, how should I say, like, share my, physical media collection. I mean, that's what my Apptrepreneur vlogs channel I do. I share a lot of my collectibles and physical media, and I'm sure I could do that on TikTok, but it's like on the other, but the thing is, it's just not my thing. It's like super limiting. And, I look at the kinds of videos that become popular on TikTok, and it's not for me. But that said, I'm glad I never got into it, because apparently TikTok might be a Chinese spy tool. No joke. It might be inside a Chinese spy tool. Now, why are people saying this? Well, here's the thing. They're starting to think because of hackers. Now, it should be noted that TikTok is is, I believe, a Chinese-owned app, or a Chinese firm has a very, very huge investment in it. I do know the CEO is a former Disney executive, so it does have an American CEO. But China has a major role in this. I believe they actually own this outright. And a lot of TikTok videos wind up on Chinese servers. Now, the reason that this started becoming an issue is that hackers started trying to reverse engineer the app. And hackers do this usually for fun, usually to find out how it works. Sometimes they do it for more nefarious purposes, but most of the time they're just curious how the app works. And when they reverse engineered it, they found some pretty disturbing things. Like, they found that information that people would use to log into websites and browsing history and stuff like that would be frequently copied and sent to a server somewhere. And that was really concerning. In fact, let's look at this article really quick. So we'll skip the who's behind the app. TikTok's parent company, ByteDance. So their parent company is a Chinese app. Now, where was that the looming ban? So here's the thing. I can't find that information. Of course I can't. So, well, anyway, like I said, they reverse engineered the thing, and they found that the app was copying information and sending it somewhere. And that's concerning enough that President Trump is actually considering banning TikTok. Now, he's saying it's over the coronavirus, but Mike Pompeo has said that it has more to do with how TikTok actually operates. So let's look at this. President Donald Trump said Tuesday he was considering banning the popular video sharing app TikTok. His remarks followed similar comments made by the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, who told Fox News on Monday that the administration was considering banning TikTok over privacy and national security concerns, fearing Chinese surveillance. It's something, and Trump said, it's something we're looking at, yes. It's a big business. Look what happened with China with this virus. What they've done to this country and to the entire world is disgraceful. He said, adding that banning TikTok was one of many options he's considering to punish China over the coronavirus. Now, in my opinion, I'm just going to respond. I don't always respond to what Trump does on this channel. I'm going to state this right now. In fact, I'm even going to move over here just so that there's no misunderstanding what's going on. I think it's a mistake to go after TikTok for this reason. I mean, here's the thing. We can play the blame game with the coronavirus as much as we want. Yeah, we know where it got started, but you know what? It's not a very compelling case, like, because you did this, we're going to ban you for this. That's a very poor argument to make. However, the argument you can make is, hey, we have some very serious security concerns about this thing. We don't think it's on the level, and so we might ban it until we can get to the bottom of what's going on. That is the reason Trump should be banning it. When he says that he's doing this to punish China over the coronavirus, he just looks petty. Just so, even though I agree with that, maybe banning TikTok should be on the table, I don't agree Trump should be doing it in this way. So anyway, let's move on. Let's move on to this. Trump was not specific about what element of China's response to the coronavirus angered him. And you see, this is what's a problem, because once Trump says something like this and it's not like the main thing, this is what the media runs with. Now, here's the thing. Trump's justification differs from that of Pompeo, who told Fox News the issue was whether TikTok was handing private user data over to the Chinese government. TikTok is owned by the Chinese tech company ByteDance, headquartered in Beijing. Now, here's something you need to understand about Chinese technology. When you create like a social platform, or there's a company that stores user information in China, they're buddies with the Chinese Communist Party. And so the Chinese Communist Party demands that they hand all that information that they collect over to them. That's just how it is, and everyone knows that. When you use the WhatsApp in China, or whatever it's called, then those conversations and stuff get sent to the Chinese Communist Party, and people have been arrested because of things that were said privately to another friend on the WhatsApp. Now, we don't do that here, and we have our own privacy concerns. I'm not going to act like China's the only one that does this. America spies on their own citizens. See that documentary Citizen 4 that won the Oscar a few years ago? That's a very fascinating movie, and it kind of highlights why you shouldn't be on social media that much if you can help it. But the thing is, there's still some accountability in some levels. Like if the police want to subpoena your phone records, they want to subpoena your phone records to find out where you were one night or what you were talking about, they still have to typically provide a search warrant to get that information. There's still a process in there. China, that is not the case. If the CCP or the Chinese police want to build a case around you, they will do it behind your back, and they will get the information from the companies themselves, no warrant required. It really is scary how little freedom they have in China. So now you have this app TikTok that's being used by Americans, a lot of Americans, and people are now reverse engineering it. They're finding out like, hey, this app is copying this. It's actually been labeled as spyware. And some places even called it malware, which I think spyware is more appropriate because malware actually literally messes with your computer and it holds your computer hostage until you give like credit card information. Basically, they're trying to blackmail you to get money. And then, of course, you give them that information, and then who knows what they're going to do with it. But here's the thing. U.S. politicians have voiced concerns over TikTok's Chinese roots for months. But for the present, the app's popularity may rankle for a different reason. Teen activists on the app in June claimed to have tanked Trump's comeback rally in Oklahoma by signing up for tickets and not attending, which, again, you see, when Trump makes it about himself, we kind of miss the bigger picture here. Now, a TikTok spokesperson told Business Insider, TikTok is led by an American CEO with hundreds of employees and key leaders across safety, security, product, and public policy in the U.S. We have no higher priority than promoting a safe and secure app experience for our users. We have never provided user data to the Chinese government, nor would if we were asked to. Now, this strikes me as a very canned response. Like I said, like TikTok is led by an American CEO with hundreds of employees and key leaders. Now, what they're not addressing here is like, okay, but TikTok does have servers in China, and that those servers do give information over to the Chinese Communist Party, and it has been discovered that the American app is copying information and sending it somewhere. Where's it sending information? This statement is not worth wiping your butt with. So here's the thing. TikTok did poach Disney streaming executive Kevin Mayer. He was the guy who launched Disney Plus to be its CEO in May in an attempt to reassure American lawmakers and consumers. Well, I'm going to tell you like a personal story with TikTok for me. Let's go over here so we have an image. Is when I heard about all of this, I looked to my wife and said, are you still using TikTok? And she said, yes, I'm still using TikTok. And I told her, get it off your phone as soon as possible. Like here's some of the things that are being said about it. And she didn't argue with me. She trusts me, and she took TikTok off her phone. I'm trying to convince the rest of my family to also remove TikTok from their phones. Now, again, I think Trump is boggling what the problem is here. He's banning TikTok because of personal, he's feeling personally slighted that TikTok user signed up for his rally and didn't show up. He wants to punish China. And here's the thing. There's a legitimate reason to potentially ban TikTok. You should be banning TikTok because it's a security threat. There are concerns. We don't know for sure, but there's enough evidence that it's like, I don't think you can completely trust this thing. I just don't. Now, and it doesn't matter if it's a fun app, by the way. I know I haven't looked at your comments, but I'm sure someone here is that that they're saying, oh, it's just a fun app and stuff. But yeah, they say that all the time. Like Facebook is just fun, or it's supposed to be fun. And yet it's still tracking your locations. It's still reading your emails. It's still pulling information on you that it is then putting in its algorithm. I mean, have you looked up some of the stuff that Facebook does that's really, really shady? It's extremely concerning, and I think people should really... I wish people were more aware of what this stuff actually, how they really made their money and what they did with your information. And it doesn't seem so fun anymore. And I did not expect TikTok to be in this situation because it's like, well, it's just cute videos and all that jazz, but apparently it might be a little bit more nefarious. Now, I'm going to be keeping an eye on this topic in the future because I'm kind of curious what's going to happen with this one. But I am curious, what about all of you out there? Do any of you own TikTok? What do you think of this news? Is this enough to convince you to take TikTok off your phone, or are you going to keep it on your phone like you think this is nothing? And what do you think of, well, President Trump's handling of this situation? Do you think he's handling it the right way, or do you think, no, he's not handling it the right way? I would love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one. Let me take a sip. And by the way, I noticed we have more viewers here. So hey, if any of you haven't given the video a thumbs up or the live stream, I would say please do. It would be really helpful with the algorithm that we're also concerned about. Charlie says, what isn't a security risk with any app? Well, fair point. I'll comment on that before we do our next topic. I do agree with you on that one, but the thing about it is there's some apps that are bigger security risks than others, and as they say, you want to follow the money, or in this case, the hackers followed the data, and they said, well, this app is copying information, and it's sending it someplace, and we don't know exactly where that is, so that might make it a bigger security threat than some other security threats out there. But yes, you're right. Any app can have a security risk. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's talk about main topic number 4. And main topic number 4, look, we're all indoors and we're all streaming things. And the streaming wars have been in effect for a long time. I think people are actually getting more streaming services than ever before because we've been cooped up inside. Like, heck, I've signed up for services that I had never planned to. Like, Stars did you got 6 months of Stars for $25. Heck, okay. I gave him $25 to have Stars for 6 months. I barely use the thing, but it's there now, and so many services have been launching, and by the way, like we talked about a couple days ago, some services are also closing as the companies consolidate multiple apps into one. Well, one of the big ones that are coming out is Peacock, which is still, by the way, one of the stupidest names for a streaming service I've ever heard. I mean, it's just, oh my god, oh my gosh. They couldn't even call it like NBC Live or something like that. But anyway, so Peacock is going to be Comcast Universal's answer, and they're doing things a little differently. They've got a free service, and they actually are pushing the free service more than the paid service. Now, 2 weeks ago, I was offered a deal where it's like I could have Peacock ad-free for a year for $50. So it's like, okay, whatever, $50 is enough to pay. That's justifiable. And, I have both a Roku and an Apple TV. I prefer the Apple TV, but the Roku's good in a bind. But most people have either a Roku or a Fire TV or a Chromecast. Now, HBO Max got crucified for launching without being on Roku and Apple TV, or the Fire TV, I should say. Yeah, because it's on Apple TV. And yet Peacock will apparently also not be launching on Fire TV and Roku, which makes you wonder what's going on. Now, this comes from Android headlines. And it says, Peacock is due to launch next week on July 15th. And perhaps unsurprisingly, Peacock, okay, I'll stop shivering, will launch without Amazon Fire TV or Roku support, meaning that users won't be able to watch the service on either of those platforms. But Comcast is okay with that, which is interesting. In an interview with CNET on Tuesday, Matt Strauss, chairman of Peacock and NBC Universal's digital enterprises, hey, you see, there's a good name, NBC Digital, Peacock, stated that when it comes to Peacock, we've got a very long-term strategy and vision for what we're bringing to the market, adding that this is not a sprint, it's a marathon for us. Now then, they aren't calling it quits with Fire TV or Roku, though. Strauss said that they are in talks with all platforms as they would like to have the app available on all platforms, but reiterated that they are committed to launching Peacock on July 15th. What this means is that the app is likely going to come back to Amazon Fire TV and Roku in the very near future. And for now, users will have to settle for CAS support, which does work on both these platforms. Though this is a big blow for Peacock's launch, considering Roku and Fire TV are the biggest platforms in the world right now, which honestly surprised me a little bit. But this means Peacock is going to lose out on a big group of people that could potentially sign up for the service. Now, for those of you who want pricing, we'll just get into it. But Peacock is going to launch for $5 a month or $50 a year for the ad-supported version. And the premium option without ads will cost you $10 a month or $100 a year. Now, it should be noted that that premium option is what I got for $50. I'm very sure of that. They wanted, it was one of those pre-sign up discounts, but it's, most people are going to be paying this. So, I think this is strange. Like, what is going on? I mean, in what world is Apple easier to deal with than Roku or Amazon? Okay, Amazon's kind of a pain themselves, but this is strange. This is strange. I mean, the Apple TV, again, I think Apple TV is objectionably the much, much better streaming device. I think it is totally the much better streaming device. But it's not the leader in the market. And why are the leaders in the markets missing these major services? Disney Plus was on Roku on day one. It missed Amazon by a little bit, but then it was on there. You see Crunchyroll and Funimation on Roku and Fire TV, and those are like small. You see Retro Crush, which is like not even a major player, but quite fun if you're a fan of 80s anime. That's free. You can get it on Amazon and Roku. Like, why isn't Peacock and HBO Max? This is strange. This is very, very strange. Like, I would kind of like to know what the thinking of these companies are to not be on there. So, anyway, that one's a quick one. I figured I would just let all my streaming friends know that if you wanted Peacock, they don't realize how this sounds. If you want Peacock, next week, you better have an Apple TV or a Chromecast. So anyway, would like to know, what do you think about this development? Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Now then, we are going to talk about our final topic, although if you haven't given a thumbs up yet, please do, because it really helps us out. And this is a funny one. And at first, I kind of rolled my eyes at the stupidity of this. But after I read the article, I realized there is genuine stupidity on this, but it kind of goes to show how much the government has really not handled the coronavirus pandemic very well. Now, as all of you know, I am a huge movie theater lover. In fact, my Failed Journalist channel talks about the movie theater experience quite a bit in the industry. So I love going to the movie theaters, and me and Katie had already had tickets for Mad Max Fury Road and Space Jam when Cinemark was going to reopen, and then those delays got delayed because, well, I'm not going to say it, but, people won't do certain things that's beneficial for everyone. And so, as a result, we have to close back down again. But I won't talk about that since that annoys people. Well, here's the thing. California is not the only place that has done this. Neither is Texas. New Jersey has forced the movie theaters to close too. However, in New Jersey, the movie theater chains are actually suing the New Jersey governor over the closures. And when I looked at the headline, I couldn't understand why when they weren't even going to be opening up this month. But then I read deeper and I realized what the problem was. It's like, oh boy, did they screw this up. So anyway, several national movie theater chains have filed a lawsuit against New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy over the Democrats' decision to keep theaters closed as other public places are allowed to reopen while the state recovers from the COVID-19 pandemic. The suit, filed Monday in federal court in Trenton, alleges the failure to allow theaters to reopen while houses of worship and other public entities are allowed to constitutes a violation of the theater's rights to free speech, equal protection, and due process. And when I read that sentence, I kind of realized, yeah, this lawsuit makes perfect sense. And this bad situation could have easily been avoided much, much sooner. And I'm going to have to get a little personal with everyone. I will. I apologize for it, but you need to know where I'm coming from. Look, I don't talk about my religious beliefs on this channel very much. I really don't. I feel like, hey, you know what? I'm talking about tech. I'm talking about the economy. I can live my life through my religious beliefs as best as I could, knowing that I make mistakes. But look, I am a Christian. I read the Bible almost every day. I believe Jesus is the Son of God. I am what my sister-in-law would say, a very religious person. Pray every day, talk to God, listen to worship for peace. I don't hide it, but I do know that when we talk about some of these other topics, it's just not relevant, so I don't bring it up. However, in this case, it might be relevant so that you can understand where I'm coming from. Now, I was disappointed when the churches had to close. Of course I was. I love going to church. It's, honest to God, one of my favorite things to do in the world. And I was crushed when the churches had to close. But I understood why they had to close. It was the logical thing to do. And also I know that some of the things that we partake in church are not necessarily things we should be doing now. Like even though my church has reopened again, my wife and I have not returned to church because too many people there wanted singing to resume, and we said no. Like a sermon we can do, but singing, singing where you're spewing and everyone's around, like, talk about a virus spreader. Like, we're not going to do that. Now, the churches should never have reopened, in my opinion. I mean, they should at some point in time, but now is not the time. And if they were, they should have had limitations. However, churches started suing the state, saying that you are infringing on our religious beliefs. You're infringing on our religious beliefs because how is worship, how is God not essential? And here's the thing. I'm going to state this right now. As a Christian, I believe God and Jesus and the Bible are the most essential things in your life. They are more essential than anything. That said, the building isn't. You can read your Bible at home. You can listen to worship at home. You can have church over Zoom like we've been doing. You do not need to be in the building. It'd be nice to, but it's not safe right now. So here's the thing. Considering that Jesus actually says to care for one another and to follow your leaders, the government leaders that have been established, so long as they are not asking you to go against your beliefs, he calls people to do those two things. So you don't go to church, you don't open those doors, because by not crowding people and singing and spewing the virus, you are protecting and loving your fellow man. And the government is not being unreasonable and asking you to close. You know what? They don't want you to sing worship at church. Guess what? They don't want you to sing at a Barry Manilow concert either, or a Mean Girls Broadway production, which are two shows that got canceled because of this whole thing. So I agree with that. But because the churches are religious, we are infringing on religion, and I don't think that was an argument many of these states wanted to have. So they basically let the churches reopen. That's what they did. They let the churches reopen. Now then, the movie theaters are here. And the movie theaters are in some ways operating very similarly to churches. You are putting people in a room. That's not entirely safe. However, the movie theaters had a plan. They're like, hey, we're going to space people out this way. We're going to sanitize the rooms after every showing. We're going to require people to wear masks. They weren't going to at first, but they eventually got to that point. And, the way the theaters, put it out there, and the fact that most people are quiet in the theaters. They're not like, singing and stuff like that. There's not a lot of reason to spew. It might be a problem with a laugh out loud comedy, but the theaters in some ways are much safer buildings to be in than a church would be. And yet the churches are allowed to reopen while the movie theaters are not. And so I actually think I think the movie theaters are justified in suing the governor for this. Now, in most situations, I would say no, that's not the case. Like, the theaters just need to wait like everyone else. But if there is, like, how should I put this? If the governor of New Jersey is saying some businesses with very similar setups can reopen, but others can't, then yeah, that might be a lawsuit waiting to happen. Now then, among those suing are AMC, Cinemark, and Regal. They are seeking a restraining order to allow theaters to reopen. A spokesman for the National Association of Theater Owners, also a plaintiff in the suit, said it is the first such court action brought as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Places of worship were allowed to resume indoor gatherings beginning last month, with restrictions on capacity and guidelines, including the wearing of face coverings and maintaining social distances. Although, interestingly, again, they didn't require that the worship be put on hold, which I think would have made a lot of sense. Now, other venues, including libraries, museums, aquariums, and public and private social clubs, were allowed to reopen this month, but movie theaters, performing arts centers, gyms and fitness centers, and indoor amusement and water parks continue to be barred from opening their indoor spaces, according to the suit. Now, I'm going to go over every one of these because you know what? There's some that I think should stay closed and some that are not. Now, the movie theaters, I've already made an argument for why those probably don't need to stay closed. I mean, the theaters have a pretty solid plan, and as long as people follow the plan and the theaters find a way to enforce following the plan, they should be fine. The performing arts centers, that's a problem because, again, performing arts usually a lot of singing, a lot of loud talking. There's that cheer at the end, like, yeah, that might be a problem. Gyms, definitely a problem because here's the thing: you really can't wear your mask at a gym. Like, look, I'll even go to that. Like, I don't believe for a second that masks cause respiratory problems, and there's a lot of doctors who don't believe that either. But if you have a face covering when you're, walking or jogging or doing heavy, like, oh yeah, that's a problem. So you can't wear a mask in a gym. And as a result, there's the sweat and like that's a bad idea. Fitness centers and indoor amusement parks and water parks. Yeah. So that makes a little sense. Maybe the indoor amusement park, maybe they could get away with reopening if people did stuff. And maybe the water parks as well. Well, it is safer to be outside, I will admit. But here's the thing. Because they let the churches reopen, that does show preferential treatment. So, the theater groups claim they presented detailed safety plans to the state, specifying how they would ensure the safety of patrons and employees. Now then, what it says in the suit, rather than address these comprehensive safety proposals in any meaningful way, defendants have chosen to continue to discriminate against movie theaters and to continue to require the closure of indoor movie theaters. The ostensible reason offered by defendants is that there are other and virtual ways to watch movies. Admittingly, that's not a terrible point. There are. Defendants have not applied this rationale to the other places of public assembly that defendants have permitted to reopen. And yeah, they've got a point on that one too. So, and in an email Tuesday, a spokeswoman for Murphy said the governor's office does not comment on pending litigation. So, yeah, the movie theaters are suing New Jersey, and I'm going to be very, very fascinated to see what the heck is going to happen with this one. And again, look, I rarely share my personal beliefs. I do. But here's the thing. As someone who believes that God is more essential than ever before, you don't need a building to worship God or get his word. You can do that at home. You can call a friend. You can call a pastor. Heck, you can even have theological discussions with your agnostic friends over the phone. There's so many ways you can do this, and yet, and I can't, and here's the thing, when it's safe, I will be more than happy to go back to church, but because they reopened that, and here's the thing, churches have not been very safe about this, because they insist on worship, they still insist on the hugging and everything, like, it's actually scary how many stupid Christians there are out there. It's amazing how many stupid Christians there are. Some of them are my own friends, I'm sorry to say. But once that door was opened, then the movie theaters should have been allowed to open. All these places should have been allowed to open. It's like, if they were serious about essential businesses, like, you know what? Yeah, that's pretty much food and necessities to live by. Like, a movie theater is not essential, but going to church is not essential to be a Christian or to get the word of God. And they said, yeah, open anyway. And so now the movie theaters are saying, like, hey, yeah, we don't have an essential business, but you're letting this non-essential business. It's going to be a mess. It is going to be a mess. I'm curious to see how this is going to work out. I really am. So anyway, this one's probably a complicated topic for some of you out there, but I would like to know what you think about it. So comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. And with that done, we've gotten through all the topics. So yay! I forgot that 2 of the tabs were the same story. That's why I counted 6, but it was really 5. Anyway, I see we have some comments, so let us go over the comments section real quick. So, anyway, we have Jody. Hi, Roger. He says, eBay owner has a palace in my hood and the same exact palace in other countries. Well, yeah, if you own a company like eBay, you've got palaces. Jody says, I think there is going to be more to this. I believe you're referring to the eBay cyberstalking. I agree. I believe there will be more to this, and I'm looking forward to covering it. Hi, George. How you doing? Jody says, I don't think DoorDash is going to give the restaurant owner his money back, and it's going to get worse with DoorDash. I agree. I actually totally agree with that. I don't think DoorDash is being completely sincere, and they say they're going to be refunding anyone any money. So, Steven is here. And Stevie Curbs is here. And Roger says that TikTok is a fun app. He also says they're just fighting China with new products. It's all politics. Okay, so Roger believes that TikTok being banned is not about safety issues, but it's about politics. And, okay, that's fine. I mean, there's an argument to be made for that, especially with the way Trump has worded it. Now, Steven SS has said that that's not spyware, it's ransomware. Spyware is more general. I agree. Roger says Apple should be involved with application security. No, I don't want a corporation to have that kind of power. I just don't. Jody says, I don't have a TikTok and never cared to get one. Driver Steve says, TikTok, what's that? I've never used it before. Well, I don't think you're missing much, to be honest. Roger says, great topic, but where is the proof? Well, Roger, the proof is, I don't have time to dig into, to show everything. I mean, I'm only talking about the stories, but, there are hackers who have shared their findings. It's out there. And hey, maybe you don't believe in that's fine. If you want to use TikTok, go ahead. I'm not going to use TikTok, but in all fairness, I probably wouldn't have used it anyway. Now, this person... who with the green, he doesn't have a name. It's just 2 dashes, so I'm going to call him Dash. Says, yep, all apps. I've never either. Everything is tracked, everything. Cheryl says, somebody just drained my husband's account with Venmo. And, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Driver Steve says, I do not like the name Peacock, or as it sounds, Peacock. Well, that's one of the reasons I don't like that name. Sherelle says, just got back from the credit union. They fixed it, but his account will be totally empty for a few days. I hope no automatic payments come through in the next couple days. Yeah, that's actually a reason I got off Venmo. Like, Venmo made like a $300 charge that I didn't recognize. And so I got the money back from the bank, but I've never trusted Venmo since then. But if you want to try Square Cash, there's a referral link below, and you'll get $5 for trying it out. Just throwing it out there. Driver Steve says, Cheryl, should Venmo be responsible for that? Maybe their security policy isn't strong enough. Well, my opinion, yeah, they should be, because again, they had like a $300 charge on my Venmo account. I didn't know what it was for, and heck, there wasn't even any money in there, and yet they charged it anyway. So there you go. Dark Road Run says, amen, brother. Kygo P says USA and we go to church in America. Look, I agree. We can go to church in America, but there's a lot of ways you can do church without going to a building. So, Gig Life says, my church is online, 2 services every Sunday. I've never heard of churches suing. They have. I mean, I haven't known personally a church that has sued, but in fact, let me churches sue. Yeah, in fact, here you go. U.S. News World Report. This is a very reputable site. Churches sue California governor over antivirus orders. 3 Southern California churches that want to keep their doors open during the coronavirus outbreak are suing Governor Gavin Newsom and other officials, arguing that social distancing orders violate the First Amendment right to freedom and religion of assembly. So, look, we're not going to read this article. I disagree with the choice to sue, but people have been suing over this. So, just pointing that out. Gig Life also added, daily devotionals are done at home, and everyone should do that daily. I agree. Hey, Dustin's in the house. He says, sup, Kevin and everyone, I gotta ask, what the F does TAS mean? TAS stands for the Apptrepreneur Show. That is the hour-long live stream, and it's one way that when people look through the videos, they can see which ones were live streams, and then they can see which ones are their own individual videos. That's what it's for. So, but answer that question. Cheryl says, hubby has never used Venmo, but they used it anyway. Yep. Tustin says, churches don't pay taxes. They have no right to sue. I think that's a little debatable, to be honest. I get where you're going with that, but I don't think that's completely accurate, especially when like they, I don't know. I just don't think that's accurate. So anyway, and Steven says sue everyone. So anyway, hey, we got 17 people. If anyone hasn't given a like yet, please do. Otherwise, this is the end of the show. We got through the topics. We got through the questions. And hey, thank you guys. You've got some really good comments. Yeah, Dustin. Yeah. Well, Dustin, you could always text me and ask me. I still have your phone number. So anyway, that is going to be the end of the show today. Thank you once again for watching. And if you missed the show, you can either rewatch the whole thing or you can wait till tomorrow when we cut up the segments and release them individually here and on the Apptrepreneur vlogs. And I think that movie theater conversation will actually be on the Failed Journalist channel. So anyway, thank you all for joining me. It was an honor and a privilege to chat with you. And as always, comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.